Welcome to Understand the Math. In this video, I'm going to teach you all about quadratic functions, how they're defined, and how to find their vertex and axis of symmetry. We'll then walk through some example problems where we'll determine if the graph of a quadratic function opens up or down and what its vertex and axis of symmetry are. Let's begin by seeing what a quadratic function looks like. A quadratic function is a polynomial that can be written in this form. F of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. A, b, and c are real numbers, and a, that's the term that multiplies the x squared, is not equal to 0. If it were equal to 0, it wouldn't be a quadratic function, and instead it would be a linear function. When we write a quadratic function like this, it's called writing it in standard form. Let's now see what the graph looks like. The graph of a quadratic function is a parabola. I have two parabolas written down here so that you can see what it looks like. Our first parabola is f of x is equal to x squared, and this parabola opens upward. The reason it opens upward is that a, which is the term multiplying x squared, in this case our a is 1, and that's positive. So when it's positive, our parabola opens upward. If we have a function f of x is equal to minus x squared, it's going to be the opposite. The parabola is going to open downward because our a, in this case, is negative 1, and it's less than 0. Let's now learn about the vertex. The vertex is where the function reaches its highest or lowest value. It's just the highest or lowest point on the graph, depending on whether it opens up or it opens down. The coordinates of the vertex are x is minus b over 2a, and then our y value is f of minus b over 2a. To find the coordinates, you just get the x value by this formula, and then you take your x value and you plug it back into your equation, and you get your y value, which is your f of minus b over 2a. We'll do some examples so you can see exactly how that works. The axis of symmetry is just a vertical line that passes through the vertex, and it divides the function into two equal halves, which we call mirror images of each other. The axis of symmetry is the equation x is equal to minus b over 2a. Let's now go back up to our picture of our parabolas, and I want to show you what the vertex and the axis of symmetry are. In our first picture on the left, our vertex is here. The parabola opens upward, and the vertex is the lowest point on the parabola. And then we have the axis of symmetry, which is actually, in this case, the y-axis, and it's just that line that divides the parabola into two pieces. In our graph on the right, our parabola opens downward, so the vertex occurs at the highest point of the graph. And then our axis of symmetry is again the y-axis, and it's just the axis that divides the parabola into two mirror images. Let's now look at some example problems. We're now going to walk through two example problems, and we're going to answer these questions. The first question is, does the graph of the quadratic function open up or down? So let's highlight up or down. Second question is, what is the vertex of the quadratic function? And then the third question is, what is the axis of symmetry of the quadratic function? Let's look at our first example. I'm going to write down the general form of the quadratic equation, and that's f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. That's going to help us when we go to use our formula for our vertex and our axis of symmetry. The first question that we're going to answer is, does the quadratic function open up or down? Notice that the number multiplying x squared is equal to 2, so our a is equal to 2 and it's greater than 0, and that tells us that our graph opens up. In part B, we want to find the vertex of our quadratic function. Let's go ahead and let's write down our formula. Our vertex is equal to minus b over 2a, and then f at minus b over 2a. And I'll show you exactly how to do that. Let's first compute minus b over 2a. The b is the term that multiplies the x, and in our case, that's equal to minus 8. And then we have 2 times our a is 2. This gives us 8 over 4, which is equal to 2. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this 2 and we're going to plug it back in for x. And that's going to give us our f of minus b over 2a. And we have 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 5. Just plugging that 2 back in for x. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And then we have minus 16 plus 5. And that's 13 minus 16, which is equal to minus 3. So we can write down that our vertex is equal to 2 minus 3. Now let's look at our third question. That question is, what is the axis of symmetry? Our axis of symmetry is x is equal to minus b over 2a. And this is really nice because we've already calculated minus b over 2a, and it was equal to 2. So our axis of symmetry is just x is equal to 2. Let me go ahead and highlight these. We found that our vertex was 2 minus 3. Our axis of symmetry was x was equal to 2, and our parabola opens up. I went ahead and I graphed our parabola just so that we can make sense of our answers. Our answer told us that our vertex was at 2 minus 3, and that's the point right here, so that agrees with our graph. And then our axis of symmetry is x is equal to 2, which is that axis right there. Now let's look at another example. In this example, we're going to answer the same 3 questions. I'm going to again write our standard form. F of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. That way we can see what a and b are. And let's answer our first question. The coefficient that multiplies x squared is negative 3. So we say a is minus 3, and that's less than 0. So that tells us that our parabola opens down. Now let's go ahead and let's find the vertex. Our vertex is equal to minus b over 2a, and then f of minus b over 2a. Minus b over 2a is equal to minus, and then b is minus 6, so we have 2 negatives. And then in the denominator, we have 2 times our a, which is minus 3. So this is 6 over minus 6, which is equal to minus 1. Now we're going to take our minus 1 and we're going to plug it back up in for x. So f of minus b over 2a is just minus 3 times minus 1 squared minus 6 times minus 1 plus 4. This gives us a minus 3 plus 6 plus 4. And that's equal to 10 minus 3, which is 7. So let's write down that our vertex is equal to minus 1, 7. And then the last thing we have to do is write down the axis of symmetry. So our axis of symmetry is x is equal to minus b over 2a. We already calculated that. So our axis of symmetry is just x is equal to minus 1. Let's go ahead now and let's highlight all our answers. Our parabola opens down. It has a vertex at minus 1, 7, and an axis of symmetry is x is equal to minus 1. Let's look at our graph and let's see if this is true. We have a vertex is equal to minus 1, 7, and then our axis of symmetry is indeed x is equal to -1. I hope that you now feel more comfortable working with parabolas. You know how to determine if they open up or open down. You know how to find the vertex and the axis of symmetry. If this video has been helpful to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. Keep believing in yourself and have a great rest of your day.